It is time to fully embrace the Score 100 agenda. That, plus our interview with Carson Palmer, all on today's show.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of the NFL. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We have Carson Palmer on the show today talking Aaron Rodgers, talking late career body transformations, things that I think are relevant to someone like Aaron Rodgers. So a lot of really good insight. This is a conversation from last week on Radio Row. We're still bringing you Radio Row content because we still have a ton of great Radio Row content to get to you. Before we do that, though, I want to talk about something that's very important to me, and that is the Score 100 agenda. That is what I'm going to call it. And obviously, the Packers and any NFL team not going to score 100. But last night, I was going through the numbers. And I'm thinking about this. The Super Bowl is just like stuck in my head, and it's this absolute thriller. Both teams score more than 30, so score 35 or more. You go back to that Patriots-Eagles Super Bowl. They score a bunch of points. Patrick Mahomes beats the 49ers because they score 30 in a game against a team where the Packers could not have gotten to 30 if they wanted to, even though that offense was really good. Aaron Rodgers was not playing at an MVP level yet, but that was a very good offense. It got even better the next year. They couldn't get to 35 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a very good defense. Defense just doesn't matter as much. It's not as sticky. And in these big moments, the offenses are more important. And you can say, okay, defenses win championships, and you go back in the history of the league. These things are changing. 3 of the last 5 Super Bowls, a Super Bowl winner has been 14th or worse in DVOA on defense. Patrick Mahomes has done it twice, and Tom Brady did it with the Patriots. Now, they did it when they beat Jared Goff, but you play who you play. And Patrick Mahomes has not had elite defenses, but because they have been so good scoring, it just hasn't mattered. And you can say, oh, well, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, all those things. Yes, true. But I've made the case on the show before that in the aggregate, the skill talent that the Chiefs had, not that different from what the Packers have. The Packers, much better running back room. Isaiah Pacheco is a nice player. He would not be getting a carry in Green Bay. Jerick McKinnon is a nice player. He would not be getting touches in Green Bay. You look at things like pass block win rate, run block win rate, PFF grades. Packers and Chiefs both have very good offensive lines. And Christian Watson was better than any receiver the Chiefs had last year. And it wasn't close. Like, Marquez Valdes-Scantling continues to just be the kind of player who his speed impacts the game, but his catches don't really impact the game. You can't always measure his impact based on the plays that he makes. It's a lot of the times he's making plays for others. But it's hard to argue that he's been more impactful than Christian Watson, given the gravity and the production that Christian Watson creates. Juju Smith-Schuster was a fine player. Now, Travis Kelce, awesome player. Awesome player. But he wasn't the reason they won the Super Bowl. The reason they won the Super Bowl is because Patrick Mahomes is incredible, played on, a bum leg in the second half, and they got all of the yards. And Andy Reid is a tremendous play designer and play caller, and because Patrick Mahomes trusts Andy Reid enough to run the offense. They scored 2 touchdowns on the same concept because of the same thing they identified on the defense. The Eagles, with pre-snap motion, were doing what's called rock and rolling with the safety in the corner. When the corner comes across in the pre-snap motion, the safety was picking him up so that you could have better leverage against that player. And so what did the Chiefs do? They ran a jet return play where you send the guy in motion. The corner goes, okay, safety's got him. You run back outside, and both times you get wide open touchdowns. Sky Moore didn't do anything special. Kadarius Toney didn't do anything special. They're wide open. Those are designed plays. That's coaching. And for most of this season, the Chiefs did not need players to be elite getting open. Travis Kelce is a terrific player. He has all-time great feel of finding open zones, but it's not like he runs a 4-4. It's not like he runs routes like Justin Jefferson, but this is such a well-designed offense, and he's so reliable and so smart, and they do such a good job of featuring him that they're really tough to defend. And they have a quarterback who plays, and I said this the other day about Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes has a chance to go down as the greatest quarterback ever, and he plays an egoless brand of football. He is happy to say, okay, the play is designed for one concept, and I know that this one concept is going to work, and I'm happy to throw that. That's not how Aaron Rodgers wants to play. And it's how they played in 2020, and we know that he doesn't want to play that way because he staged a coup post-2020, and in 2021 and 2022, the offense looked less and less, progressively less, like that offense we saw in 2020 with more defined reads, with more play action, with way more jet motion, and it reverted a lot back to things Rodgers wants to do, static pre-snap, and read things out 1 to 2 to 3. Now, is that a bad thing? Look, Rodgers is great. And it's hard for me to say, well, you should totally change your play style. You don't have to, but maybe do the thing that was working in 2020 and 2021. I don't bring this up to be a criticism of Rodgers. It's just the reality of the situation that they were playing better when the offense looked more like the Chiefs offense in terms of scheming things up. Andy Reid is an egoless play caller. He is willing to say, hey, guess what? You know what I'm going to do? In the Super Bowl, I'm going to call a play where I'm going to have my future Hall of Fame tight end and my free agent acquisition receiver pretend like they're not getting the call and throw a quick screen out to Jerick McKinnon and pick up 8 yards. Not even a touchdown, not even a chunk play. I'm going to burn this trick play because 8 yards in the Super Bowl is valuable, and because I'm not too proud to feel like, oh, I should just be able to call, stick or sail or dragon or something and say, okay, go do it. No, I'm gonna get in my bag. And guess what? The Chiefs ran that weird motion, little ring around the rosy play. It didn't work. They come right back and they run the motion return for a touchdown. It's all about probing and finding opportunities to take advantage of your matchups. It is stickier to be good on offense. And so that is where your investment has to be. And the Packers have been worried too much about their bad defense, and it's not been great, and not enough about fully fortifying the offense. Aaron Rodgers, even with Devontae Adams, this offense was not good enough in the postseason. After 2020, you didn't go and bring in a bunch of guys that are going to make this offense better. Now, part of that is because you just whiffed on Amari Rodgers. Like, if Amari Rodgers could play, if you had drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown, it probably would have been fine, right? So part of it is you have to be right on the way that you invest in your offense. And part of it is your players have to play well. Your quarterback can't regress. But they spent a lot of resources, a lot of first-round picks on this defense, a lot of free agent dollars on this defense. And it just has not translated into winning in part because in today's NFL, we're getting to a place where it is more about what you can do on offense than what you can do on defense. The Eagles had a great defense all season. And Patrick Mahomes sliced them up like they weren't even moving in the second half. This is how this worked. The Eagles did it to the 49ers. I understand Brock Purdy didn't play, but the Eagles did whatever they wanted to the 49ers in the second half. This is the time to recognize you have to score a bunch of points. We're seeing this in other sports, by the way. In baseball, it's all about forget bunting, forget sacrifices. No. Amp up the variance. 3 true outcomes. Hit those home runs. 3-point shooting in the NBA. Defense, meh. Jack threes. Score. And it works. This works. The premise of the game is to score more points than your opponent. So why don't you make your offense the thing that scores the points really, really, really good? Start from there. And then, okay, once you have a kick-ass offense, then if you have time, you can add some defense if you want. All right, we're going to get to our conversation with Carson Palmer in just a second. Before we do, looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all the fat and calories, then you got to try Built Bar. It is something that I eat almost every day. In fact, I made the joke, my sister's visiting us. I made the joke to my sister. I was eating the Built Bar and I said, I know you've heard the show. I really do eat these. I really do eat them almost every single day. And when I don't, it's mostly just because I was either too busy or I wasn't home during a time when I was hungry to eat one. If I'm home, I'm probably going to have one of these in the mid-afternoon because it is a great way to get something delicious that is also good for my body. Just 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, but 17 grams of protein. And the flavor is out of this world. And now you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for Built to deliver them to your door, though you can go to Built.com and do that. Just go to Sam's Club. Just go to Walmart and pick up a box today.
We're here, Super Bowl 57, Radio Row. I'm here with longtime Cincinnati Bengals quarterback, Las Vegas Raiders quarterback, Carson Palmer. And Carson, this whole phrase is not foreign to you. You've been here before. You were a player for a really long time. And the offseason brings new challenges for every player. What was the thing where when the season was over, unfortunately for everybody that doesn't win the Super Bowl, your season ends a little disappointingly. What was your process of like, okay, I need to recover, I need to get back at it, and then I'm going to, okay, now it's ready to get prepared for the next season?
Yeah, I'd always go to California for a couple weeks and just not train, not work out, just kind of veg out and relax and start putting together a plan. But it was always fun just because, you know, hearing the end of year plans with different guys. Some guys are going to Hawaii, some guys are going to see their folks, some guys are flying to Vegas right away. Like everybody has a different kind of routine or a different process, but my process was just go and just chill, because you go from, you know, really the beginning of August, and it's a 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. deal every single day of the week, and you always got somebody talking at you. You always got a coach telling you what to do, telling you what not to do, and then you go to another meeting, another coach telling you what to do, telling you what not to do. And so I loved those 2 weeks. As soon as the season was over, just tell my wife, don't talk to me, don't tell me what to do. You know, run around with the kids and play, but I just need to not be told what to do for a couple weeks and not sit in front of a screen watching film, or, you know, sitting, you know, at my desk with a playbook going through plays. And I just really vegged out, relaxed, and did nothing for a couple weeks.
What then would animate you to go, okay, it's time to get to work now?
Well, we're creatures of habit, athletes. I mean, you don't have an off button. That's why it's so hard to hit the off button for 2 weeks. And so you get about a week and a half through it and you're like, all right, here we go. Let's go. I need to get in the gym. I'm going to start doing yoga. I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to start eating right. And it's just, you're so used to it, so ingrained in you. Go, get better, train. Somebody else is working harder than me over here. Somebody else is working over here. And I think that catches up to you after a couple weeks.
You played for long enough where the sports science changed and the rehabilitation process changed. And I remember sort of in the middle of your career, that's when yoga started to become a part of more and more people's process. I don't know when you started that, but how did you see your recovery change over time, the way you did it?
Well, it was wild. So I blew my knee out in a playoff game against the Steelers in 2006. And then, and so I went in, I had surgery. I was in a hospital for like 4 days recovering from the surgery, and then, went through all the protocols of the rehab. And then I did it again 10 years later in 2016. I went in for the surgery, and I was home in my bed by lunchtime recovering from the surgery. So just science has drastically changed. And, the way I attacked my second knee rehab compared to my first knee rehab, which was only, 10 years apart, everything had changed. There's all kinds of new technology, different modalities, different training, and different view of how you recover from physical therapists just in 10 years. So it is wild. It has totally changed. It is no longer, I was kind of a dork because I was doing yoga and I was doing Pilates and I was, trying to eat really clean. And
everyone's like California boy doing yoga.
Totally, yeah, sunshine. All the nicknames you get from doing that. And now it's like, oh wait, that yoga thing can make me faster. It can make me more resilient and keep me healthier. Pilates can make me strong. There's all these things now where people are like, oh yeah, those things actually do work. And it's not like they just invented yoga 6 years ago. Yoga's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. So it is funny, but I think, obviously Tom Brady's a big part of that. People look at this guy and go, man, he's playing in his 40s. How's he doing it? He's doing things like eating right, hydrating, taking care of his body, deep tissue massage, yoga, all these things. So now it's kind of cool.
Was that, I think we see this a lot with athletes, they go into wellness post-career. Was that ultimately what led you to say, okay, I want to be a part of the solution here for people, not just athletes, who could use some help with recovery and the physical stresses just of life in a lot of times?
That's how I got involved with Level Select CBD, why I'm here today working with them. I had surgeries, I had different injuries, I had things that you couldn't surgically repair that are just pains and aches. And so a buddy of mine started, Todd Davis started Level Select CBD, and I was like, what is this? Tell me about it. Let me try this. I've tried everything. 99% of it doesn't work. And so I started using Level Select CBD, and I still use it. I'm coaching my kids. I'm chasing them around. I'm doing all kinds of different stuff. My body feels great, and when my body doesn't feel great, it's typically a knee, a low back, or my neck. I use some Level Select CBD, and it's instant relief. It's not like having it surgically repaired if something needs to be surgically repaired. But just the day-to-day aches and that wellness world is something that I wanted to get into because I needed it to continue to be the dad and the athlete that I think I am in my head still. But also it's helped me sleep at night. It's just helped me, like I said, help me chase my kids and coach them and not feel like an old dad.
You've seen the last few years, Tom Brady retires and unretires. Aaron Rodgers has been hemming and hawing for 3 years now about all of this. What was the process like for you to ultimately decide, I'm ready?
Well, it was watching myself in game film. In my 15th year, I started to see I didn't quite have that shiftiness. My game wasn't, take off and run for 60 yards. My game was move around within the pocket and, as a guy comes up by and tries to grab a shoulder pad or get his arm around my waist, I was strong enough and quick enough to slide in the pocket and deliver the ball. And I started to see that change, that speed within the pocket, that efficiency within the pocket. I started to see the ball tail off a little bit, and I didn't quite have the velocity on the ball. And I was 36 years old at the time and a lot of wear and tear. And so, I saw it on film when I started to realize, all right, I'm getting up there. I'm starting to look like that guy. I don't want to be that guy. And so that was part of it. And then another part of it was just the aches and pains weren't going away in a day or two. The aches and pains were lasting for a week or a week and a half or an entire season. And that's when I knew.
I want to ask you about this. Aaron Rodgers in 2021 went through kind of a difficult situation with his team. There was some negotiating in the media. His agent, David Dunn, you have a history with David Dunn. When you saw that play out, did you feel like there was a little parallelism with some of the things you went through with Cincinnati and the way that was all handled behind the scenes?
No, with Aaron, there's a lot going on, and you don't know if he wants to keep playing. He hasn't really decided if he wants to keep playing. But as players, everybody's always angling for their next contract, and everybody's always even if they signed one last year, they want a new one, or they signed one 2 years ago, and so signed one this year, and it is this much higher than theirs. So, guys are always angling for new. If the general public knew about how many guys were on their agent all the time about a new contract, I even had guys in the locker room would come through the locker room. I'd see him in a suit. And I'd be like, what are you doing on a Wednesday with a suit? He's like, I'm going up to the owner to see if I can get a new contract. There is always angling. And so, Aaron, in his own right, he deserves to be one of the highest paid players in the league. And as soon as you're not, he's always angling, just like everybody else is always angling to stay as one of the highest paid players in the league if they're deserving of that kind of a contract. So I think more than anything, he was always just trying to angle for his next contract.
In relation to that, if let's say Rodgers does leave, you were in a place that you had a lot of success with in Cincinnati, and I still think you guys win the Super Bowl if chemo doesn't hit your knee like that. But what was it like to leave and have to acclimatize to something new and understand, okay, this is going to be different?
Well, I think it's a good thing for a lot of guys, especially like Brady, if you've been in New England for so long.
Right. He made it work.
You're in New England for so long, and it's like when I got to Arizona, and you go from a cold climate into that, and I remember, oh my gosh, we practice on grass every day, and the grass is like green, and it's 70 degrees outside, and it feels good. Your body feels better. The aches and pains feel better. So, you look at like Brady, and I think that was just an eye-opening thing for him. Like, I'll bet he got to Tampa was like, I can do this for 3, 4, 5 more years. I thought I only had one left, but the way they practice on grass all the time, that's a huge thing. Practicing outside when it's not 10 degrees or 18 degrees and it's 68 or 74, that's a big thing. And if Aaron goes somewhere else, which I think he will, he may get somewhere else, and you got to go in, you got to reestablish yourself as a leader and as a captain and as the quarterback. And it's not the same old guys. You're reintroduced. It can be energizing, especially as you're, getting up there in years, and 36, 38. Brady was 42. So it can be an energizing experience, and it could be something you may need at that point in your life. And you look at Aaron, it just seems like he's done in Green Bay. Maybe it will be energizing to him and spark a little more work ethic in the offseason, and change the way he deals and talks to the media about his teammates. Maybe things will change and be different if he does have a new environment to go and really kind of start over again. So, I don't always think it's a negative thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think for a lot of guys, especially the older guys, it can be really energizing.
All right, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The only app you need in any sporting season is America's #1 sportsbook. We're really excited about our new FanDuel partner because they're the #1 sportsbook in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. I did hedge. I hedged the Eagles with the Eagles. I had the Chiefs plus 480. Plus 480 to win the Super Bowl. And I didn't want to hedge. And I was like, fine, I'll hedge. I don't regret it. I regret it a little bit, but that's the fun. I still won. I still won money. That's the beauty of FanDuel, because there's so many ways to win, and you get a no sweat first bet. Your first bet on FanDuel, you can get a no sweat first bet when you use the promo code Locked On. That's FanDuel.com/Locked On to get started. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, we're going to be back tomorrow. Our conversation with really, I think, someone that you're going to be really impressed by, because what I think the league is trying to do with all of its technology is make fans more understanding of what the game is all about and how we can relate to the game that we're watching. And so Adam Petras from Zebra Technologies is on the show to talk about all the next gen stuff that they're doing, the chip in the ball, speed things, all that cool stuff that you see on the broadcast and on your Twitter feed about how fast players are going. We're going to do an augmented, not a summer Friday, it's kind of a winter Friday, but just a short conversation with him. It's going to be kind of a bonus episode because we're not going to do much else beside that conversation, which is great. Really fine because it's the Super Bowl. Everyone could use a break. You didn't get Monday off, presumably. So I'll give you Friday partially off. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers. And anytime you want to come hang out with us live, you can do that on our Locked On Packers YouTube page. To stay Locked On Packers.